Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Ung Studio, and today we're going to be making a wood spiral light. To get started, I'll walk you guys through the design that I came up with. For this project, we'll be taking two circular frames that are spaced about 4 inches apart. These frames will be made of cherry plywood, just like the remainder of this project. What we'll do is we'll take some wood slats that we cut out of some cherry plywood, and we'll lay the first piece down so that it's about 1 inch higher than the top of the frame and 1 inch below the bottom frame. After that, every succeeding piece will start at the same 1 inch above the top frame and come about 1/4 of an inch below the last piece. This will create an illusion of a spiral by the time we finish this entire circular frame with all of these vertical slats. To create this, we're actually going to use finger joints. So all of the vertical slats will look something like this. And what we'll do is we'll notch out these pieces here. And we'll have about 36 of them for this project. The other thing we'll have are these circular frames that'll end up looking something like a gearbox that looked like this. All of these notches will be cut out so that the vertical slats can be notched right in and either friction fit or glued together, depending on how secure we want all of the pieces to be. Now the top frame is actually going to look something like this, where we have a 1 inch diameter circle so that the light can actually sit within that area and hold it together as a pendant light or to sit onto that frame as a table light. The other thing we'll do for this particular frame here is we'll notch out some areas here for voids, just so that more light can pass through the frame itself. We'll do the same thing for the second frame with all of the notches, but instead of having all of these interior cutouts, we're actually just going to have a larger cutout. This piece will just help hold all of the vertical slats together. Now going back to the vertical slats that we're cutting out, if the first piece looks something like this, the second piece will look something like this, where it's slightly longer, but the notches will always line up. This is to ensure that when we start finger jointing them together with the frame, they're all in the same exact spot, and the only change that we'll see is this bottom, which is 1/4 of an inch longer between every piece. So that's the design of this wood spiral light. It can be used as either a pendant light or a table lamp. Before we jump into laser cutting all of the pieces, I want to take you guys through a 3D model that I created just so you can better visualize how it all looks and how it all comes together. To create a 3D model of the wood spiral light, I use a software called Rhinoceros. I'll show you guys now what it looks like. The two components here are the circular frames that I was talking about during the sketching part of this video. What you'll see are all of the notches cut around the entire perimeter of the circular frame. These will become the areas that get finger jointed with the vertical slats that we cut out of some cherry plywood. These areas here that I'm highlighting in yellow are actually going to be voids within that frame. This particular one is the frame where the light bulb will be housed. This area here will be the opposite side, which is about 4 inches up or down, depending on whether it's a pendant light or a table lamp. And the reason why this larger cutout is at the center is so that the light can pass through, and this frame can act as just an additional support for all of the vertical slats. The vertical slats will look something like this. All of the pieces that you see total about 36, and that's because when we divide this circular frame by 5-degree angles, we end up with about 36 pieces. So that's what you're seeing here, and at the bottom you can actually see the 1/4 inch difference. When we take these components and we put them together to create a 3D model, it'll look something like this, where when you look at it from the side, it starts to look like it's spiraling down. And as you rotate around it, you'll actually see that spiral continue. The inside will be something like this, where you have the top frame where the light will be housed, and then you have the bottom area that's just the additional support. All of the pieces are finger jointed and either held in by friction or glued together with some wood glue. So the reason why I like creating a 3D model for most of my projects is because I want to make sure that the pieces will actually come together and create something that I envision in my mind. It's one thing to be able to hand sketch an idea, but it's another to actually see it come together in a 3D form. Now that we've gone over the 3D model, it's time to move into the next step of the project, which is laser cutting all of the pieces and assembling it to create the wood spiral light. Let's get started. So that's how I make this wood spiral light. From the beginning to the end of the project, it took me about 6 hours, and that includes the amount of time that it took me to design the project, 3D model it, cut all of the pieces out, and then assemble it just like you saw. The interesting thing that I learned as I was going is that the finger joints that I used are all friction fit, which means that I didn't need any glue when I was slotting everything together. It's really fascinating to build something like that because all of the pieces I needed to add more pressure as I was pushing them to slot them together, and that created an area where all the pieces could be readjusted very slightly and then locked into place. In the future, the one thing that I would change about the design of this spiral light is the way that the base of the light is held in place. Right now, because of the way that it's designed, this area of the light, which is a lot taller, is heavier than this side. So if I were to hang this on my ceiling and use it as a pendant light, it's actually going to lean towards one side more so than the other. So it wouldn't hang vertically. What that means is I need something to either counterbalance that, so I have to change the design a little bit, or I need to create a base that's more rigid and can be held in place by the ceiling with a strut or something else that'll actually hold the wires inside of it and hold it straight so that everything is vertically aligned. I love how this spiral light came out, and it gave me a lot of ideas for future projects that I can make out of wood using this particular one as a basis of design. The one thing I really like about this light is the way that all of the pieces came together and just slot together onto a frame using finger joints. It made the build very easy, and it also made everything more precise. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments section below. Like, subscribe, and follow me for more.